up something from Russian playwright and short story master Anton Chekhov. Is there another writer out there better suited for our program today? He wrote indelible plays such as Uncle Vanya and my personal favorite, The Seagull, which certainly proves he had his fair share of experience with theater types and issues with his mom. This story is just one of his many satires which showcased observations about Russians across the social spectrum. The status games here will no doubt resonate with anyone who's been in a showbiz relationship, or any relationship, really. Reading the story are a pair of actors we are lucky enough to have hosted on the stage at Symphony Space in the past, but never for the same story. He is known for series including Hannibal and The Path, as well as recent appearances on shows such as The Good Fight. She starred in Homeland and has played everyone from Temple Grandin to Juliet. And I'd be remiss not to mention their theater bona fides, including runs on Broadway for him, Venus in Fur, for her, Pygmalion. Now to perform He and She by Anton Chekhov, welcome Hugh Dancy and Claire Danes.
Only Paris is graced with their presence for months. They are stingy to Berlin, Vienna, Napoli, Madrid, and other capitals. In Paris, they feel quasi at home. For them, Paris is the capital, their residence, and all the rest of Europe is a boring, pointless province, which is best seen through the lowered curtains of grand hotels, or from the stage.
They're not old, but they've already been to all the European capitals 2 or 3 times.
They're bored with Europe. They've begun to talk about a trip to America, and will continue to talk about it until someone persuades them that her voice is not so splendid that it must be shared on both hemispheres.
It's hard to catch a glimpse of them. You can't see them on the streets because they travel in carriages, and they travel in the evening or at night when it's already dark. They sleep until lunchtime. They usually awaken in poor spirits and do not receive anyone. They receive visitors only occasionally at odd moments backstage or at dinner.
You could see her on postcards, which are for sale. On postcards, she is a great beauty. Although she's never been beautiful. Do not believe her postcards. She is hideously ugly. Most people see her on stage, but on stage she's unrecognizable. White face, rouge, eyeshadow, and someone else's hair cover her face like a mask. It's the same at her concerts. When she plays Margarita, this 27-year-old, wrinkled, lumbering woman with a nose covered in freckles looks like a slender, lovely 17-year-old girl. On stage, she couldn't look less like herself.
Should you want to see them, wangle an invitation to attend a luncheon given in her honor, or occasionally given by her before they depart from one capital for another. Getting an invitation isn't as easy as it might seem at first. Only the chosen few sit around her luncheon table.
The chosen few include such gentlemen as reviewers, social climbers passing themselves off as reviewers, local singers, directors, band leaders, music lovers and devotees with their hair slicked back over bald spots, theatre habitués, and hangers-on who were invited thanks to their gold, their silver, or their bloodlines.
These luncheons are not at all boring. They're quite interesting to an observer. Dining with them once or twice is worth it. The famous among them, and there are many, eat and talk.
They are informal, neck turned one way, head the other, and an elbow on the table. The older ones even pick their teeth.
The newspaper men grab the chairs closest to her.
They're almost all drunk, and they take too many liberties, acting as if they'd known her forever. Just a bit more to drink, and they'd step out of line. They make loud jokes, drink, and interrupt each other, always with a pardon, make high-flown toasts, and don't seem to care if they make fools of themselves.
Some of them lever themselves across the table with great courtesy and kiss her hand.
The social climbers, passing themselves off as reviewers, chat in a patronizing tone with the music lovers and devotees. The music lovers and devotees are silent. They are envious of the newspaper men, smile beatifically, and drink only red wine, which is often quite good at the luncheons.
She, the queen of the table, is dressed in attire that is modest but terribly expensive. A large diamond glitters under lacy chiffon on her neck. She wears a massive, smooth bracelet on each wrist. Her hairdo is highly controversial. Ladies like it, men do not. She beams at all her fellow diners. She can smile at each person, speak with everyone, nod her head sweetly at each person at the table. If you look at her expression, you think that she's sitting with some of her closest and dearest friends. At the end of the luncheon, she gives some of them her postcards. Right at the table, she writes the name and surname of the lucky recipient on the back and autographs it. Naturally, she speaks French and switches to other languages at the end of the meal. Her English and German are comically bad, but poor language skills sound sweet coming from her.
Indeed, she's so sweet that you can forget for a while how hideously ugly she is.
And him? Le mari d'elle? Well, he sits 5 chairs from her, where he drinks a lot, eats a lot, is silent a lot, rolls the bread into little balls and rereads the labels on the bottles. You look at him and think that he has nothing to do, that he's bored, lazy, and sick of it all. He's extremely fair with bald streaks. Women, wine, sleepless nights, and traipsing all over the world have taken a toll on his face and left deep wrinkles in their wake. He's not even 35 years old, but looks older. His face seems to have been pickled in kvass. His eyes are fine, but lazy. Once he was not hideous, but now he is. Bowed legs, sallow hands, a hairy neck. In Europe, they gave him the odd nickname of Pram because of his crooked legs and strange gait. In his frock coat, he looks like a wet jackdaw with a dry tail. The diners pay no attention to him. He returns the favor.
If you're at the luncheon, look at them, that husband and wife, observe them, and tell me what brought them together and keeps them together. After you look at them, you'll reply more or less like this.
She's a famous singer, and he's just the husband of a famous singer. Or, to use backstage jargon, he is the husband of his wife. She earns up to $80,000 a year in Russian money, and he does nothing, so he has time to be her servant. She needs an accountant and someone to deal with the theater owners, contracts, and agreements. She only spends time with her adoring public and does not stoop to deal with the box office proceeds or the prosaic side of her work. She has no time for that, so she needs him. She needs him as a lackey, a servant. She'd get rid of him if she could take care of things herself. He gets a substantial salary from her, and she doesn't know the value of money. And like 2 times 2 is 4, together with the maid, he robs her, fritters away her money, goes on wild benders, and very likely puts away something for a rainy day, and is as pleased with his place as a worm on a juicy apple. He'd leave her if she didn't have any money.
That's what everyone who sees them at a luncheon thinks and says about them. They think and say that, since they can't get to the heart of their relationship and can only judge by appearances. To them, she is a diva, and they avoid him like a pygmy covered in toad slime. But actually, that European diva is tied to that toad by the most enviable, noble bond.
This is what he writes.
People ask why I love this virago. This woman truly is not worthy of love, and neither is she worthy of hatred. You shouldn't pay a whit of attention to her. You ought to ignore her very existence. To love her, you must be either me or insane, which is, in the end, one and the same thing. She's not pretty. When I married her, she was hideously ugly. And now she's even worse. She has no forehead. In place of eyebrows, there are two barely noticeable lines above her eyes, and instead of eyes, there are two shallow crevices. Nothing shines out of those crevices. Not intelligence, not desire, not passion. She has a potato nose. Her mouth is small and pretty, but she has terrible teeth. She has no bust or waist. That last flaw is covered up, prettily enough, by her fiendish ability to lace herself up in a corset with extraordinary agility. She is short and stout. She is flabby. En masse, her figure has one flaw that I consider the worst of all: a total absence of femininity. I do not consider skin pallor and physical weakness to be feminine. And in that, I do not share the views of a great many people. She's not a lady, or a woman of fine breeding. She's a shopkeeper with bad manners. When she walks, she waves her arms around. When she sits, she crosses her legs and rocks back and forth. When she lies down, she raises her legs, and so on. She's slovenly. Her suitcases are a prime example. She throws clean underclothes in with soiled ones, cuffs with shoes and my boots, new corsets with broken ones. We never receive anyone because our rooms are always a filthy mess. But why tell you about it? Just look at her. When she wakes up at noon and lazily crawls out from under the covers, you'd never guess that she was a woman with the voice of a nightingale, her hair unbrushed and snarled, her eyes puffy with sleep, in a nightgown torn at the shoulders, barefoot, hunched over, surrounded by a cloud of yesterday's tobacco smoke. Is that your notion of a nightingale? She drinks. She drinks like a sailor. Whenever and whatever. She's been drinking for a long time. If she didn't drink, she'd be better than Adelina Patti, or at least as good. She ruined half of her career because of her drinking, and she'll ruin the other half soon enough. Some nasty Germans taught her to drink beer, and now she won't go to sleep without drinking 2 or 3 bottles before bed. If she didn't drink, she wouldn't have gastritis. She is impolite, which the students who sometimes invite her to their concerts can testify to. She loves advertising. Advertisements cost us several thousand francs every year. I loathe advertising with all my being. No matter how expensive that silly advertisement is, it is always worth less than her voice. My wife likes it when she's patted on the head. She doesn't like to hear the truth about herself unless it's praise. For her, a Judas kiss that is paid for is finer than honest criticism. She has no sense of dignity whatsoever. She is intelligent, but her intelligence is untrained. Her brain, flabby and torpid, lost its plasticity long ago. She's capricious and fickle. She doesn't have a single firm conviction. Yesterday, she said that money is nothing. The purpose of life is not money. And today, she's giving concerts in 4 places because there's nothing on earth more important than money. Tomorrow, she'll say what she said yesterday. She doesn't want to learn anything about her homeland. She has no political heroes, no favourite newspapers, no beloved writers. She's rich, but doesn't help the poor. In fact, she often shortchanges milliners and hairdressers. She has no heart. A thoroughly wicked woman. But look at that virago when she's made up, corseted and every hair in place, as she approaches the footlights to begin her duel with nightingales and larks as they welcome the May dawn. Such dignity and such loveliness in her swan-like walk. Look at her, look. Carefully, I beg you. When she first raises her hand and opens her mouth, the crevices are transformed into enormous eyes, glimmering with passion. Nowhere else will you find such magnificent eyes. When she, my wife, begins to sing, when the first trills fly through the air, and I begin to feel my tumultuous soul quietening under the influence of those marvelous sounds, then look at my face and you'll understand the secret of my love. Isn't she magnificent? I ask my neighbors. They say, yes, but that's not enough for me. I want to destroy anyone who might think that this extraordinary woman is not my wife. I forget everything that came before, and I live only in the present. Do you see what an artist she is? How much profound meaning she puts in every one of her gestures. She understands everything. Love, hatred, the human soul. It's no wonder that the applause nearly brings the theatre down. After the last act, I escort her from the theatre. She is pale, exhausted, having lived an entire life in one evening. I'm also pale and fatigued. We get into the carriage and we go to the hotel. In the hotel, without a word and fully dressed, she throws herself onto the bed. I silently sit on the edge of the bed and kiss her hand. That evening, she doesn't push me away. Together we fall asleep. We sleep until morning and wake up to curse each other. Do you know when else I love her? When she's at balls or luncheons. On those occasions, I love the fine actress in her. Oh, what an actress she must be to get around and overcome her own nature the way she does. I don't recognize her at those silly luncheons. She turns a plucked chicken into a peacock.
This letter was written in a drunken, barely legible hand. It was written in German, peppered with spelling mistakes.
This is what she wrote.
You ask if I love that boy. Yes, sometimes. Why? Oh, God only knows. He really is not handsome or likable. Men like him are not born for requited love. Men like him can only buy love. They never get it for free. See for yourself. He's drunk as a sailor day and night. His hands shake, which is very unattractive. When he's drunk, he's ill-tempered and gets into fights. When he's sober, he lies on whatever's around and doesn't say a word. He always dresses very shabbily, although he has plenty of funds for clothing. Half of my earnings slip through his hands, who knows where. I'll never check up on him. Accountants are so very expensive for poor married artists. Husbands receive half the box office take for their work. I mean, he doesn't spend it on women. I know that. He looks down on women. He's lazy. I've never seen him do anything. He drinks, eats, and sleeps, and that's all. He never graduated from school. In his first year, he was expelled from the university for insolence. He's not a nobleman. He's the very worst, a German. I don't like the German people. 99 out of 100 Germans are idiots, and the last one is a genius. I learned that from a prince, a German, with some French blood. He smokes repulsive tobacco. But he does have some good qualities. He loves my noble art more than he loves me. If they announce before a performance that I can't sing due to illness, that is, if I'm acting up, he stomps around, clenching his fists and looking like death. He's not a coward, and he's not afraid of people. I love this quality most of all in people. I'll tell you a little story from my past. It was in Paris a year after I graduated from the conservatory. I was still very young and learning to sing. And every night I caroused as much as my youthful strength would allow. And of course I caroused in a group. On one spree, as I was clinking glasses with my distinguished admirers, a very unattractive boy I didn't know walked up to the table, looked me right in the eye, and asked, "Why do you drink?" We laughed. My boy wasn't embarrassed. The second question was more insolent and came straight from the heart. "Why are you laughing? These servants pouring you glass after glass of wine won't give you a cent when you ruin your voice from drink and lose all your money." Such cheek. My guest became very upset. I seated the boy next to me and ordered him wine. It turned out this worker from the Temperance Society enjoys wine very much indeed. Apropos, I called him a boy only because he has a very small mustache. I paid for his impudence with marriage. Most of the time he says nothing. When he speaks, it's usually just one word. When he uses a chest voice to say this word, it catches in his throat and his cheek twitches. He might say the word when he's sitting with some people at a luncheon or a ball. When someone, it does not matter who, tells a lie, he raises his head and without a glance and not the least bit ill at ease, he says,
"Untrue."
That's his favorite word. What woman could resist the glint in his eye when he says that word? I love that word. I love the way his eyes shine and his face twitches. Not just anyone can say that fine, bold word, but my husband says it everywhere and any time. I love him sometimes, and that sometimes, as far as I recall, is when he utters that fine word. But really, God knows why I love him. I'm a bad psychologist, and in this case, I suspect a psychological issue is involved.
That letter is written in French, in splendid, almost masculine handwriting, and without a single grammatical error.